This is Austin Pace with BYU-Idaho Radio, and I'm joined today by a few students here with me. If you guys could introduce yourselves, that'd be great. Starting with you.
Hi, my name's Savannah. I'm from Eagle, Idaho, and I'm a special education K-12 major, and I'll graduate next year.
I'm Ashton Birch. I'm from Nampa, Idaho. I am an elementary education major with a minor in literacy, and I'm in my 4th semester.
My name is Ariana Liberator. I am from Vancouver, Washington. I am studying elementary education, and my minor is middle school general science, and I graduate next fall.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming with me today. So I first wanted to hear what kind of drew you guys into education. Why do you guys want to pursue that as a career?
For me, I actually did not really want to go into education. I've always wanted to work with little kids with special needs, because I have a little brother with autism, and I grew up volunteering for Special Olympics because of him and involved with that kind of crowd, and I loved it. And I figured special education, that would help me work with kids with special needs, and I might teach for a few years and then do something else with it, because there's a few other things you can do than teach. So,
when I was in high school, I taught piano lessons as like my job, and so I realized that I really enjoyed working with kids, and that I felt like teaching was a way that I could make an impact with kids. So that's kind of why I chose education. So
I'm kind of in the same boat as Savannah. I originally didn't want to do education, and then my brother, when he started school, got put on like special education curriculum, and so helping him through that, I kind of developed the love for education, and then just being able to help kids and just be with them and help guide them in their futures is something that really drew me to it.
Awesome. So it sounds like you guys are all really passionate about what you're trying to do. BYU-Idaho has so many different resources for students doing literally everything, right? I have this super cool opportunity. I'm a communications major to be in my field doing something that I want to do, right? So you guys also have those kinds of opportunities. A couple of you guys said you're taking a practicum right now, or you have taken a practicum. Tell me about that experience. Where did you work, or where will you work, or what does that process look like for you guys?
So currently I am in my literacy practicum. So I'm at Hibbard Elementary, just in Hibbard, Idaho, like 20 minutes away. And I am in a 4th grade classroom. And right now the focus of this practicum is on literacy, hence the literacy practicum. And I go in 6 hours a week, and I teach small groups and whole groups of 4th graders, just different phonics, phonological awareness, different prefixes and suffixes, things like that. I teach that to them and help them just learn how to be literate in their everyday life. And so the way you just go in and teach, you wear a little name tag, and they know you as a teacher, and they learn from you, essentially, is all that is.
Awesome.
So far I've done my elementary early field practicum, and I was over at Sugar Salem at Central Elementary with that school, and I was in the kindergarten, and overall that experience was really cool because it was my first experience with a sense of teaching in a formal setting, and so I think that experience helped me to gain understanding of what it means to have classroom management and what an everyday classroom looks like, feels like, sounds like, and it was a really great opportunity to recognize teaching is what I want to do, and that's the place for me. So.
I'm currently in my junior practicum, and I'm at Kennedy Elementary School in the resource room, and I'm loving it because my early field practicum was in just a general education elementary school, which is how it is for all the special ed majors. But now that I'm actually in a resource room with kids with special needs, it's so exciting, and I've gotten to help my teacher write IEPs, do progress monitoring. I've been to an IEP meeting, and we've dealt with a lot of extreme behaviors. It's really cool to me to see the special education side of education, and we also get to teach groups doing remediation for students who are struggling, and so it's been really cool.
Awesome. So hands-on work can often be stressful and hard and can make or break an experience for you guys, but you guys are still here, right? You were saying you've dealt with a lot of different stuff, right? Mm-hmm. I'm guessing on both ends of the spectrum, really cool and awesome and breathtaking, but also really difficult.
Yes.
So why are you choosing to stay even with all the difficult moments?
I am choosing to stay because as hard as it is sometimes, I love it so much. I'll be working with these little kids and you just know they're the most tender spirits, and being able to connect with them, I always just get hit. I almost cry like half the time when I'm there because I just am like, holy cow, like I love it here. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a love for the kids.
What about for you two?
I would say the same thing. I think a lot of the time you hear teachers getting burnt out super easily, but I think when you're in it for the right reasons and you're there for the kids, you're not there for a paycheck and you're there to genuinely help these people, then I think that's the greatest reason to stay. Like Savannah was saying, it's hard some days, but you're with these children all day long and you see how much they grow with or without you there, and you just want to be a part of that. And that's how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I would totally agree with what Savannah and Ariana have already said, that you don't do it for the paycheck necessarily, but you're doing it for those kids. And I think in my own experience, like we don't always see their home lives, and a lot of them need a safe place to come. And if I can be that safe place with my future classroom and in the way that I treat them and love them, then that's why I stay in teaching. So
Awesome. So I kind of want to walk through like a day or a week as a practicum student. You guys teach, right? So what does prep look like? What is it like, let's say, that first day in class to now? Like, how have you guys seen yourselves grow? What does that prep look like for you?
I would say that when I first started my practicum, I was super nervous, super not confident. I wasn't necessarily like shy, but just not as confident in my teaching. And so the prep work for a practicum, at least for early field, was that we create lesson plans that are guided with a curriculum provided by our mentor teacher. And then from there, you kind of adapt it to the amount of time that's needed in the classroom. And then it is usually approved by the mentor teacher before you then present it to the class. And your mentor teacher, as you take the practicum, you have a lot of scaffolding from your mentor teacher, and then it kind of builds into, they start releasing that back to you. And so, and as we previously mentioned, like, the students often like view us as a teacher, and that starts from the very beginning with letting us teach and letting us be the authority figure in the room. And so you can gain confidence from that from the very beginning with proper support from a mentor teacher.
For me, with the special education one, we're showing up after their school year started. So at first the kids are kind of like, who are you? And you don't really know who they are either. And I think the most important thing I've learned this semester is how crucial it is that you understand your students, because there's a lot of behaviors and acting out, and they don't always communicate like a general education student might. And so I've been able to observe them and notice how my mentor teacher deals with them, and to know what sets them off. What do they need? There's one little girl who will be in our classroom teaching a group, and you'll just hear her in the hallway screaming her lungs out. Then she lays on the floor and she kicks her feet and she rolls around because she didn't want to work. She's a kindergartner, but it's because she's hungry. And so then she loves Cheez-Its. So then you say, hey, come with me. We're going to go to the resource room. We're going to get you some Cheez-Its. We're going to take a breather in the hallway. And then you're going to go back into kindergarten and you're going to learn. And it's been so cool to see that, like, with every student, as you come to understand them, you can really help them and help them to progress and help them to learn.
Yeah, kind of going off of what both Savannah and Ashton have already said, you go in the first day, whether it's your first practicum or your last practicum, and you're shaking in your boots and you're horrified because you're just like, at least for me, my fourth graders, whenever I get there, it's right from lunch. So they just came from recess. They're super rowdy. They're like ready to play still. And so you have to calm them down and you're like, okay, we have to read. And they're like, please don't do that to me. And I'm like, sorry, we have to. And just going in and seeing how I was the first day in my practicum to seeing where it is now, where these students have learned to trust me and I've learned to trust them, and I've gotten to know their interests and I've gotten to know what they like and how they learn, and how each student is so individual in their learning that you have to scaffold and differentiate your lessons based off of each individual student still having a main lesson. And so that's super helpful and cool to see, as well as you just learn these individual students as people and not students. So then you can help them be better humans.
Awesome. So you guys all kind of hit a spot talking about the individual student, right? So what tips and tricks do you have, you guys have kind of developed, that might help students that are going to be, future practicum students to get that connection with so many different students while also teaching a class as a whole? Does that make sense? So what kind of tips and tricks do you guys have for that? What have you guys found works the best?
I think it takes time for sure. It doesn't happen on the first day, and sometimes it takes a couple months, but we're only there for about 12 weeks. But I think the biggest thing for me was just taking time to listen. When the kids come in, they want to tell you what they did last night, or if they're coming from lunch, they want to tell you about recess, or they want to share the latest book that they read. And so it's taking time to listen and not brushing the little things off where you build that connection, because I think sometimes they don't have people at home maybe that will listen. And so, again, it goes back to that love and that understanding. And so just give them the time and properly listen. So,
one thing that I've done that I saw from one of my mentor teachers was at the beginning of every lesson, you give them 2 minutes to just talk to you about anything and everything. And so it just gives them that time to redirect their thinking, okay, I got all my thoughts out, I can focus on the lesson now. But it also gives them that chance to talk to you as the teacher, as the stranger in the classroom who's only there for 12 weeks, so they can learn to trust you and get to know you, and you can learn to get to know them. And then you can design new lessons on their interests, or you can say, hey, how did that soccer game go that you told me about? So they know that you were listening and paying attention to them.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of finding opportunities to talk to them, because you're obviously not going to be able to have one-on-one conversations in the middle of instruction when you're teaching. But when they're working on things, or in downtime, if you go and you have conversations with individual students and ask them about themselves, and also be observant to how they act, what they need, that kind of stuff, and tell them about yourself. I find that students really love when you talk to them about you, which is kind of weird, but they love it. They get so excited when you tell them something about yourself, and they usually will be like, oh my gosh, I can relate to that because of this. And then they yeah, they love asking how old you are. But they love to find things that they can relate to you about, and then they talk to you about those things, and it helps them feel like they're connected to you and they feel like you care. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like you guys are all super passionate, right? So I kind of want to go back to the resources BYU-Idaho provides. So signing up for this practicum, what resources does BYU-Idaho provide, getting you to a certain school district, or showing you, hey, there's an opportunity here for this practicum, or hey, there's student teaching here. What kind of resources does BYU-Idaho provide for you guys?
So BYU-Idaho has a lot of different schools that they work with, and a lot of teachers that are willing to work with students. And so automatically when you sign up for a practicum, they have that lined up for you. And I'm kind of in a special position with my junior practicum. There's only 3 of us taking it. And so my professor very specifically matched each of us up to the mentor teacher they were sending us to. He was like, okay, I know you and I know this teacher, and I think you guys will match better than you would with any other teacher. And it's been great. I love my mentor teacher. She's a BYU-Idaho graduate, so she knows all the ins and outs. She knows what I need to learn. And they sent me with a huge checklist. It's literally massive. But the SPED professors, they sat down and they built this checklist of things that they thought was important for a special education student to do in their practicum. And so I've been able to sit down with my mentor teacher and work through this checklist. And so it's ensuring that she is giving me the experience that I need.
I'd say to go with Savannah on that one, that we have so many resources here that, when you sign up for a practicum, we have professors that are specifically doing that practicum. And so their focus is on us and helping us to gain that experience. And so they meet with the principals often with those schools and take a look at your minor and your major and say, where can we put this student where they will have the most beneficial time and learning experience? And so I know that I was matched in a kindergarten because my minor was literacy and it's about reading. And so that was a great experience for me to watch that. And so there's just all kinds of resources with the careful planning that the professors and then mentor teachers and principals put in. And so it's both with our own staff here on campus and faculty, but it's also with the staff at the schools.
Going off of what Ashton said, I had a similar experience in my early field practicum. I think it was winter 2022 when I took it. But my mentor teacher, I was in a second grade classroom, and when the time that I went into the school, they were doing their science lesson of the day. And so because my minor is science, they put me in that classroom so I could teach them science because that's something that I want to do. And so BYU-Idaho does a great job at trying to give their practicum students as many resources and opportunities as possible to succeed in their practicum, as well as the mentor teachers. Like my mentor teacher is also BYU-Idaho graduate, and so she knows like what we need to do, which I know isn't everyone's case, but my mentor teacher knows what we need to do, so she gives us ample opportunity to complete all of our checklist items and all of the things that we need to teach that semester.
Awesome. So kind of wrap it up, I want to ask each of you, what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone considering education, whether it be special education or elementary education? What is one piece of advice you would give to that person, if they're considering jumping into a field like that?
I would say power through the boring classes. When you start an education major, you have to take Ed 200, which is teaching as a profession. And the first week of that class, I was like, okay, I'm changing my major. I hate this. I don't like this at all. But I didn't bail on it, and I waited until I took that practicum and I was in the schools, because the best deciding factor is actually doing it, not taking boring classes, because some of the classes are brutal. But wait till you go to a practicum. Early field is awesome. There's not a lot of prereqs. You can get into it pretty quick. Go take it and see if you like it. And then if you still don't like it, maybe consider changing your major. But odds are you'll have a way better experience in that class than you do the on campus.
I think to add to what Savannah said, I also recommend doing a practicum, your early field practicum, early on. It's a great way to get hands-on experience and recognize if teaching really is for you. I also have a professor that I really look up to, but his number one thing is to, he always says, remember your why. Remember why you want to teach. Remember why you're in this profession, and that can kind of guide your teaching. And when times do get hard, because they will, teaching isn't easy, but remembering your why is what can keep you steady when it gets a little rough. So,
saying again, just both of what Savannah and Ashton have said about remembering your why and then powering through the boring classes, getting into the school and seeing these students as people instead of just potential students that you can have one day is a huge reason to stay and to just be able to teach these students. It's like, just get in and do it. I say give it a try. Go in, take a few classes, take your early field, and if you hate it, then don't do it. But it was life-changing for me, and it helped me fall back in love with teaching after my boring classes.
Well, great. Thank you guys so much for coming and letting me pick your guys' brains a little bit. Thank you.